Hello, writers. My name is Harule Stokes from HaruleStokesWrites.com. Here to share some great writing information with you without all the BS rules and nonsense. In this video, I'll be discussing how to write a great opening, what makes a great opening, and what should a great opening contain. So, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon to be notified of all future videos. So, without further blathering from me, let's get to work. Okay, let's do this. I'm out in the rain, so let's make this happen. Great openings. In my opinion, a great opening must contain some action. And most of the time when someone thinks of a great opening for their story, they think it should be something with action in it. Of course, when they're referring to action, though, they're talking about something like a shootout or a car chase or some kind of physical action that takes place, mostly involving, sadly, violence. Now, when I think of action in my writing, I think of something happening, but not necessarily something violent. You know what I mean? Action doesn't always translate into violence. It only has to be something happening. Something that has that kind of tension building in the scene. That's the key. There has to be tension of some kind in the opening sequence, some raising of the stakes, even if it's a small bump. Without that, the reader doesn't feel that quick hit of adrenaline, so it doesn't spur them on to continue reading. It should also be stated what action isn't. Info dump, that ain't an action. Please God, do not start your first chapter with an info dump. For the love of God, don't create a prologue with nothing but a huge stinking pile of information about your world either. That ain't gonna work. Of course, what I just said don't mean shit if you can make that info dump cool and interesting, thus making me eat my words basically for the most part. But that's a tough sell. It's hard to make an info dump interesting. Let's take an example from my first novel, Sectors. I started the novel with a phone call where the main character is having a difficult discussion with his mother on his graduation day. No one is shot, no fights break out, but there's action and there's a mounting tension. Now this is good. Well, so I've heard. I can only go by reviews I've received, and no one's ever said they were bored with the opening. So there's that. So I can't guarantee that's the perfect way of doing it, but you have to have some action. Now back to the example. The main character and his mother are having a tough discussion, and tempers are flaring. Again, that's good. That's what you want. You want to have some tension rising. Of course, for like a romance, there's some sexual tension, which is also action. The same thing with a shootout. It's all action. As an added bonus, if you can work in something about the characters, who they are, you not only manage to create tension, but you also sneak in some info dumping on the slide, you know what I mean? All the while keeping your reader entertained with the action you're dropping on them. Woohoo, that's great, right? Can't beat that. The last thing you want is a bored reader. No one likes to write a book and have the reader put it down. That's a bad sign, because they're not interested enough in the story. So they say, I'm done with this. Yeah, I know. You want the reader to understand what's happening, who these cool-ass characters are, and the cool as fuck world you've created. You want them to know all the details involved and how this goddamn clever way of putting the story together. But sorry, info dumps are neither clever or cool, and no one gives a damn about all that. Just because you're in love with the world you've created doesn't mean that you must inflict your reader with it. Of course, the hard part about info dumping is creating some prose that provides information without dumping bland data on the reader with 5 pages of technical information and history. Sorry guys, that shit ain't fun. I hate reading that. So I'm pretty sure other people do too. And what I generally do, and what I believe is a good idea, is to provide detail weaved into some kind of discussion or incident that forces the characters to talk about that valuable information that'll help them understand what's going on better. Now, going back to sectors, I did the same exact thing by having the main character explain how and why he was ranked at a level 8 instead of a level 10 in the story's power scale. He did this as his mother was driving them and his brother to a train depot headed to the concentration camp that he was being forced to police. As you can imagine, there's some built-in tension simply on the scene itself. So I turned a potential info dump into a family discussion with a misunderstanding that bled into a talk about the mother not being okay with the main character's decision to actually follow through with this forced job that he has. That's my method of masking an info dump, but there are tons of ways to do it. So I suggest you do the same and create a way to give information without it being a manual on your world. Your readers, of course, will thank you. Also, just let me say, don't stop making great openings just because it's no longer the first chapter. In my opinion, every chapter, every scene should have some kind of great opening of some kind, whenever possible, of course. You can't always do that. So, let's recap. Action. Gotta have it for your opener. Tension. Very good for the reader and for the story. Info dump? No. Don't do it. Unless it's wrapped into something tasty and entertaining, then by all means have at it. But it has to be, key point, entertaining. Thanks for listening, writers. All right? Of course, you can always check out Fallen Sun and Sectors on Amazon in both ebook and paperback format. I'd love for you to pick it up and tell me what you think. All right? So, finally, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified when the next video drops, which should be fairly soon. Finally, remember, no excuses, just right. Peace.